He sentenced him to 20 years in prison. The judge had even asked my mother and I if we thought that Liam should have leniency and should be shown mercy. I can still remember my mother sneering.
No, Your Honor. That monster is no longer my son. He deserves no compassion at all.
Her voice dripped with venom, and I felt pride in knowing that she had finally seen the truth. After that, Liam was hauled away to prison in a wheelchair. Hi, my name is Jamie, and I always knew I was the outcast in my own family. My older brother Liam was the star, the favorite, who could do no wrong in the eyes of my parents. He was 3 years older than me, tall, athletic, and charming, the kind of person who could walk into a room and immediately capture everyone's attention. He was perfect in their eyes, but to me, he was spoiled and arrogant, a tyrant who ruled our house. Mom and Dad never saw how Liam treated me, the way he belittled me when no one else was around, or how he would manipulate situations to make himself look good while making me seem like the screw-up. It was always my fault, even when it wasn't.
Why can't you be more like Liam?
Would you please stop saying that every day? I'm trying my best, Dad. You know that he isn't actually perfect.
Well, his good grades and all his trophies say otherwise.
My parents would say such things often, usually after Liam had convinced them that I was to blame for something that had gone wrong, something that he usually had done. Sadly, they believed him over me.
Liam wouldn't act like this, Jamie. Why do you always have to be so difficult?
I'd stopped fighting back years ago. After all, what was the point? No matter what I did, it was never good enough. Liam was the golden child, and I was the failure. That's just how it was. I remember one afternoon, about a year ago, when everything started to unravel. Liam had just gotten his driver's license, and Dad had bought him a brand new car. Not just any car either, a sleek black sports car that Liam had been begging for. I was 16 at the time, and barely able to ride my old bike without getting side eyes from Dad for not looking like a man. But Liam? He got everything handed to him.
Let's go for a drive, Jamie. Come on, you'll like it.
I didn't want to go. The last thing I wanted was to spend more time with him, but refusing would have meant more trouble for me later. So, I got in the car. We drove through town, Liam showing off, speeding down narrow streets while blasting the stereo. I held onto the seat, my knuckles white, my stomach churning.
Relax, Jamie. You're such a baby. Just enjoy the ride.
I didn't say anything, just stared out the window and wished I was anywhere else. That was the way it always was with Liam. He got to have fun, and I was left in his shadow, just trying to stay out of the way. Later that evening, though, things took a real turn for the worst. We were sitting at the dinner table, Mom, Dad, Liam, and I. It was supposed to be a regular family dinner, but somehow it always turned into a showcase of Liam's accomplishments.
Did you hear? Liam got an A on his physics exam. His teacher says he's one of the brightest students she's ever had.
That's my boy, always making us proud. You'll be going places, Liam, I know it.
I forced myself to chew the dry chicken on my plate, staring at the tablecloth to avoid their eyes.
What about you, Jamie? Are you even trying in school?
I'm doing fine.
Fine isn't good enough. You're wasting your potential. You could learn a thing or two from Liam.
Liam smirked across the table, and I knew he was enjoying every second of it. But then things took a turn, as they sometimes did when Liam got bored. He liked to push things just far enough to get a reaction.
Actually, Dad, Jamie's not doing so well in school. I heard he's been skipping classes.
What? Is that true?
I shook my head, trying to defend myself, but Liam kept going.
Yeah, one of his teachers mentioned it to me. Said he's been falling behind.
Dad slammed his fist on the table, making the dishes rattle.
Damn it, Jamie. You're going to ruin your life. Do you think we'll let you sit around and do nothing while Liam is out there making something of himself?
I haven't been skipping classes, I swear. Of course, they didn't believe me, and they spent the next few hours yelling at me. Liam was smiling the entire time, clearly enjoying the trauma he was causing me. I was so done with my parents, but with what happened later, I regret not trying harder to get them to see me as anything but a screw-up. There wasn't much that Liam couldn't pass off onto me. There was even the time that our mother found drugs in Liam's room, and he somehow convinced them that they were mine.
Liam, sweetie, what are these doing here?
Mom, those aren't mine. They must be Jamie's. I don't know why he would hide them in my room.
Jamie! I wish I could say that I was surprised by this. Just wait till your father gets home. You are in big trouble.
Are you kidding me? They aren't mine. They are literally in Liam's room, hidden in his dresser. Why on earth are you believing him? But that's how it always went. After that, I wasn't allowed to leave the house for months except to go to school. Eventually, though, things got back to normal. Or at least, the terrible kind of normal that my family was capable of. Then it happened. The night that changed everything. It was supposed to be a quiet evening. Mom and Dad were going out for dinner, leaving Liam and me at home. I was in my room, trying to avoid Liam as usual, when I heard him knocking on the door. Jamie, I need a favor. What? What could you possibly want from me? I need you to distract Mom and Dad for me when they get home. Why? Because I'm bored, and I want to go for a joyride. They told you not to drive it tonight and to stay home with me. They think I'll get up to no good if you aren't here since you convinced them that I'm the screw-up. I know, genius. That's why I need you to cover for me. Just tell them I was here the whole time. I'll be back before they even know it. No way. I'm not lying for you. Liam's expression darkened, and he raised his fists at me in a threatening manner. Don't be such a little rat, Jamie. You owe me. You know they'll blame you for something sooner or later. If you help me out like this, then I'll get them to go easy on you. You do me a favor, and I'll do one for you. I knew he was lying. There was no way that he would ever come to my aid, but I also knew that he was going to do whatever he wanted to, whether I agreed or not. And so, I shrugged and just turned on the television and started watching a movie. The next part is still a blur to me, even now. Liam took the car, speeding off into the night. After some time, our mom came home earlier than expected, and within minutes, the phone rang. I heard my mother's voice, high-pitched and panicked.
What? No, that can't be right. He's supposed to be at home. He wouldn't...
Then she came rushing upstairs and demanded I tell her where Liam was. I refused to lie for him, so I told her that he had left and went for a joyride. She screamed at the top of her lungs in pain, and then told me that both Liam and our father had been in an accident. Apparently, our father was on his way home as well, when Liam ran through a stop sign and slammed into him, causing both their cars to roll hundreds of feet down the road. Paramedics arrived as quickly as they could, but our father was too badly injured, and he died before they could help him. Liam was much luckier, and while he lost both of his legs, he survived the crash. My mother was enraged, and she refused to speak to Liam when she went to see him in the hospital. Minutes after we arrived, some police came in and informed my mom that drugs had been found in Liam's system, and that they felt that the accident was in large part to him being impaired and driving dangerously. My mother then looked at Liam, and then at me. It was the first time that she truly apologized to me. It felt like such a relief that she had finally realized the truth about Liam and I, and she swore that she would never take Liam's word over mine ever again. For weeks after the funeral, I stayed quiet. Liam was still in the hospital, facing charges for reckless driving and vehicular manslaughter, on top of possession of an illegal substance. Neither my mother or I went to visit him even once. As far as she was concerned, he was dead to her as well. But I couldn't stop thinking about that night. How it was all Liam's fault. How his selfishness, his arrogance, had cost us everything. And then I found it. His belongings were delivered to the house, and among them, I found his phone. On it was a text from the night of the accident. He had messaged one of his friends, joking about how fast he was going and how stupid our parents were for buying him such a powerful car. Liam had even messaged that he was going to play chicken with an oncoming car. I had heard him mention this game of his before. He would drive towards an oncoming car and force them to swerve off the road or have a head-on collision with him. I could only assume that it was the drugs that made him so bold and careless. Of course, this meant that it wasn't exactly an accident. He had endangered our father's life on purpose. The crash, the death, all of it. It was because Liam had been selfish and just plain reckless. I showed my mother the messages, and together we went to the police and showed them everything. With this new information, they built an airtight case against Liam, and as soon as he was released from the hospital, he went straight to jail where he waited until his trial date. The judge saw the messages, and along with the knowledge that Liam was high at the time as well, he sentenced him to 20 years in prison. The judge had even asked my mother and I if we thought that Liam should have leniency and should be shown mercy. I can still remember my mother sneering.
No, Your Honor. That monster is no longer my son. He deserves no compassion at all.
Her voice dripped with venom, and I felt pride in knowing that she had finally seen the truth. After that, Liam was hauled away to prison in a wheelchair. He would write us letters fairly often, but we wouldn't even read them, and we never visited him once. The only good news I do have is that after the whole ordeal, that my mother and I grew very close. She finally saw me for the good, well-rounded boy that I was, and that she had been blinded by Liam into seeing me as something I wasn't. It's a shame that it took such a terrible event for us to finally grow close, but I am very grateful for it. Although if I could go back in time, I would happily trade Liam's life for my father's. And no amount of time in prison can ever undo the horrible mistake that he made. I once heard that my father's ghost tormented Liam in prison. I hope that is true. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe.